All right, so this is video number two. If you didn't see my first video, basically, I'm just going to take you through a journey that I have of capital preservation, starting a business, and business acquisition stuff. And this is all in response to me recently getting laid off from my job at a Fortune 100 company where I was a pretty senior leader and held multiple roles there. So my goal here is just to document this journey while I take this different path in life. And I'm not always going to be looking right into the camera because my camera is up there above my monitor. I didn't really work on setting up some magical setup like you'll see with a lot of these other channels, but maybe I'll get there one day. But right now, I'm staring at my monitor and the camera's up there. So I am talking to you. But so let's just go through what I wanted to cover today. So how did we do this week? And again, so this is how I did in the markets through the end of business yesterday. So if you're following the market today, well, today's September 5th. I don't know if you watched this video, but you'll see that the market opened up and then is trailing down a little bit, and that's okay. But what I intend to do is snap the line each Thursday and then make this video on a Friday. So as of yesterday, again, so we started with 111,000 and it was actually 112,000. What I did is I removed that earmarked savings. It was that earmarked savings is just what we use to put money in and out of. So there's kind of really no point in showing that. That's not really big capital preservation, and where I'm going to put my severance in the whole 9 yards. So we didn't do any capital infusions this week, and we didn't do any draws, and so we ended at as of yesterday it was 112,000. So it's okay, about a 1% change. What's interesting here is in my allocations, had I just had everything in the market, this would have been a pretty decent change. But that's okay. The goal here is to try and have some diversity and to eventually learn how to beat the market. So this week I spent some time with my mentor that does this basically for a living. He's an early retiree and he spends a lot of time on options. I'm kind of learning from him. So he taught me all about Bollinger Bands this week, and I've already knew about cash secured puts, but I'm just continuing to learn all the ins and outs of those so I can eventually hope to get pretty good at them. Spent some time continuing to learn about Thinkorswim platform, which is basically owned by Schwab. And their powerful trading platform is Thinkorswim. And as you can see, it's got a lot of capabilities, but we'll get into that into another day. I'm certainly not an expert and I'm still learning it. Um, Actually, I'm looking at my cash secured put for SoFi, and it looks like it might be getting down to my strike price, but that's okay. We actually want this to strike. If it gets down to 24, then I'd probably actually get assigned these, and then we would work on a cash secured put. So working on that, and then I've been watching BMNR and why they're so bullish on ETH, Ethereum, and learning of just what Ethereum does, just in general, outside of just being a crypto. Again, learning some stuff on options trading. I follow a guy named Options with Ryan, I believe it is. He's phenomenal. You should check him out. And a couple other channels. Trade Brigade is another good one. And then just spent a lot of time just kind of really researching into NVIDIA coming out of their earnings. My mentor believes that this is a slam dunk stock for many, many years. And I'm trying to just to get to his level and why he feels that way. And the more I research into this, the more dominant I see that they are in the market in AI. Even though the stock doesn't trade that way, it's not a $500 or $1,000 stock or anything like that. But I could easily see it continuing to grow. It's a phenomenal company in how they're positioned in the AI revolution. So, and then what did I do in the trades? So again, we're continuing to move money out of this Schwab money market account. This is in my emergency fund, and I'll pull up my account here in a bit. Continuing to move. So we started around $50,000 in that money market account, and we're slowly starting to move money over into just the Schwab total stock market account. And so the target is to have about half of that into the actual market, but to dollar cost average in. So far, over the course of 4 days, we've moved about 5,000 into there. And then also I set some limit order sales on Apple. In my long-term investments, again, we'll pull this up in a second, but in my long-term investments, I am seeking to reduce some of my positions in individual stocks. so that I can put it in my options trading, because options, when you trade them, you have to trade them in 100 share blocks. So it does no good for me to have 5 shares of Meta if I want to do options trading on that. Just so that's what I'm doing. So that's what I'm doing with Apple, and eventually I'm going to do the same thing with Meta and some other stocks that I own in there. Well, I'll show you here in a second. And also, I'm a big fan of Bitcoin and ETH, mostly as of recently. I do think there's a lot of, I am kind of, I guess you could say, drinking the Kool-Aid on that Bitcoin will continue to go up. There's a lot of people think that could hit 250,000 in the next year. It's at about 110,000 or something like that right now. So just buying into that. And then there's a lot of bullishness on ETH as being a very strong crypto. And that's what BMNR is all about. They're an extensive and heavy buyer of ETH for a number of reasons that I won't get into. I have to go check my notes, but maybe I'll put a link down below to podcasts that I watched on BMNR. And then the Robinhood count, the Robinhood account is not included in this money that we'll be tracking each week. I still haven't determined if I'm going to put that in there. I'm going to make a better tracker to track this journey from beginning to end. I think right now I have around 35 or 40,000 Robinhood, and it's really going to be pretty dedicated to just buying crypto. So right now, again, trying to dollar cost average in to go through. I think there's about 18,000 of buying power left in Robinhood before I put more money in there. And right now, I just do a daily buy of $100 to Bitcoin and ETH, so about $700 a week in both of those. All right, so that's my stock trading. But what else is a semi-retired? I'm not retired, but what else am I doing in my laid off time? I'm definitely not sitting on the sidelines. So as I mentioned in my last video, I am looking to start up a business. I do the books for a buddy that has a very successful and fast-growing business in Texas. So I know the business model very, very well. I'm not going to talk about it here, maybe in the future. Right now, I'm just doing everything that I need to do my diligence for this business startup. So kind of right now, I'm all in on this, but and you'll see that journey. So I applied for the LLC. I finished my P&L for the first 24 months of being in business to see how that would look. Basically, the business plan. Submitted all my financing documents and requirements for some machines that I would need to acquire. Created my job description and posted those to Indeed for the 2 positions that I would need to hire. Created my labor pay structure, found the location. If I end up signing that lease, I'm just negotiating terms, and then working on getting a quote for the build out. So on the business side, I'm just, going through the due diligence of actually starting this business. On the marketing side, created an Instagram page, a Facebook page, built the website. I haven't published it yet for a reason I'll explain. I'm still working through the logo. This is surprisingly harder than I thought. Just really trying to hone in on a logo that I like. Created my pricing sheet and my quote matrix, and started my initial social media marketing launch. And what I mean by that is I'm actually going to test the market before I sign any papers. So that's basically what I'm doing. I'm getting the whole business ready to start up, and then I'm gonna test the market as opening soon and see if there's a lot of feedback and warm reception to that. If there is, and we're getting a lot of good traction from that, then it's going to be really easy for me to pull the trigger on some of these final things and just gear up to getting opened up in the next couple months. Basically, pre-booking customers. And then, so that's what's going on in the business startup. And then again, in the business acquisition, I talked about it in my first video where I'm actually looking to buy a business as well. So right now I'm just I'm doing a program from a very, very well-known business acquisition coach, just to really understand my wife's calling, just to really understand, to make sure when I'm going to start doing due diligence and searching for a small local business, that I'm doing it the right way. So anyway, that's my week. This is my first week. Last Friday was my last official day. I had 2 weeks of bench time. I got my notice on a Monday, and then I had 2 weeks. They basically a non-working notice, and I've been working on a lot of this stuff during those 2 weeks. But this is just me. This is what I did this first official week. So as you can see, I'm not sitting on the sidelines at all. And we'll take a quick look at the stock account again. So you see down today, it's down a little bit, but it's still up from what we originally started, which was 111,918. So I know if you end up watching that first video, you'll see that I said I started at 112. What you don't see here anymore is the earmarked savings account. I just unhid that. Again, in Schwab, you can decide what you show in the total value, and you can decide what you show in line. So you'll see my kids' accounts in there, the trust accounts, but I don't have them, and some other stuff that I manage for my sister and my nanny, but I don't have those included in the total value. The only thing included in that total value is the severance account, which we're going to be depositing a big chunk in there. I think it'll be around 80,000, so that'll put me close to 200,000 to play with in terms of just trying to capital preservation and continue to grow it. And I'm going to take you guys along that journey and my business ventures journeys. So just pulling out of that, again, the severance is going to go up a little bit. Emergency savings is just what my wife and I had. You see the big year-to-date change because I basically moved a ton of money into this consolidated account so I can have a better place to just manage it holistically and kind of put some of this buying power together. Percentages of gain actually make a little bit more meaningful difference, because again, remember, the goal is to draw as least amount as possible on that severance, to have the severance plus everything else growing while I'm having to draw that down while I'm starting this business. What you don't see here is also some company stock that I have that there's about 100 grand. It's not in here, it's in a Fidelity account. I'm either going to move that over here, and that'll be part of this journey, and that'll be a capital infusion, or that'll be likely, if this business venture that I'm starting, it's going to be from that money. So I don't know if I'm going to put it here yet or not, but in terms of last week, again, the market's down a little bit today. Now I'm going to close the books every Thursday afternoon, and that's how I close the book. So that's it for this week. You can see spent a ton of time. I'm still working, I'd say 10 plus hours a day. Start my day super early, between 4:30 and 5 a.m. And these are the things that I've been working on this week.